In 1908, author Kenneth Grahame wrote the immortal children's novel, The Wind in the Willows. For more than a century, readers have been delighted by the antics of Mole, Ratty, Mr. Toad, and Mr. Badger. But there's another character in the novel who is rough and tough, a bit of an extrovert.
"I'm looking," said the mole, "at a streak of bubbles that I see travelling along the surface of the water. That is the thing that strikes me as funny. Bubbles? Oh ho," said the rat, and chirped cheerfully in an inviting sort of way. A broad glistening muzzle showed itself above the edge of the bank, and the otter hauled himself out and shook the water from his coat.
A glistening muzzle is exactly what artist Liz Potgieter encountered in Pringle Bay.
And this very wet, spiky, whiskered otter came to see who I was and what I was doing, and went on a nearby rock and looked at me kind of like, and then came up and was looking like, and almost kind of as if she wanted to hunt me. Then she got into the water and she came to my rock, and she jumped on the rock and she came round the rock and she did this and she did that, and she up like that. I saw she was a lactating mom because she had had a big tummy.
Liz shares her experience with UCT PhD candidate Nicola Okes, who in early 2013 began a project to study the Cape clawless otters of the Cape Peninsula.
I sat here, right here, and the tide was lower than now, and then she came up to those rocks that are wet now in front of us.
Otters are top predators in aquatic systems, and being top predators, they offer us a unique opportunity to tell us something about the environment. So in some cases, otters are known to only occur in pristine environments, and in other cases, they are used as sentinel species, being able to tell us what are the levels of integrated pollution in an environment. The objectives of our research is to determine the baseline of information of otters in the Cape Peninsula. So what are they eating? Where are they living? Is their distribution at all related to environmental pollution?
50/50 joined Nicola in Betty's Bay, which, although falling outside her study area, is known for regular sightings of the otters and would give us our best chance of capturing these elusive creatures on camera.
Here are some otter footprints. There's two sets heading off towards what looks like the lagoon area, and there's another set branched off here heading up into those dunes. So the otter footprints are quite easy to recognize as they don't have claws. And you can see quite clearly the shape of their 5 fingers with no claws.
The otters have been seen and photographed by many Betty's Bay locals. This picture was taken by artist Trish Carroll, who then created this delightful painting from the photograph. We were not as lucky as Trish, however. After 3 long days, we still did not have any footage of the otters, but the signs that they were in the area taunted us at every turn.
Tracks of the one disappears into this water area while the other ones carry on, and I see I lose them into the water here as well. So they may have headed up through the water and into the grassy and reedy section on the banks of the river. Otters are very secretive and shy, and that secretive, shy nature makes them very hard to see and virtually impossible to observe. Most people might not even know that they are in an area where they are common.
While we may have been struggling to get footage of Cape clawless otters, underwater cameraman Jacques de Vos hit the jackpot. Busy testing a new camera, Jacques felt something pressing on him. It was this otter peeking over his shoulder to see what he was up to.
I've always been fascinated by otters. I grew up in Kommetjie, which is a small town along the coast, and I would always see the otters, and they always intrigued me, and they're always such a mystery. And now that I've had the opportunity to study them, I've found that they are fascinating creatures. Otters are incredibly playful animals. The stories I've heard of otters playing in the sea and in rivers, and the way they roll on the banks, cleaning themselves, they're an incredibly endearing species. And so I think what I would really like to see is an otter playing in a rock pool.
The best way for Nicola to gather information about the otters is by meeting and chatting to locals who have encountered them while walking along this beautiful stretch of coastline. Pringle Bay resident Pat Little has otters literally living on her doorstep.
That is such a lovely sculpture you have in front of your house.
Oh, thank you.
Otter. And did you make it yourself?
I did, yes. I do ceramic sculpture.
How long have you stayed here?
We've been here for 13 years now.
And have you seen otters here for all of those years?
Some years they've been very quiet, but generally, yes, they've been around.
They've always been in this kind of area?
This area in front of the house. There are two halts. There's one on right in front of us now, on my right, and then there's another one on the left.
Okay.
There were indeed otters in the area that Pat pointed out, and they had been here not long ago.
So this is very fresh scat that's just been found. It must have been deposited this morning. So fresh scat can give us quite a lot of information. You can tell what it's been eating. Often the hard, indigestible remains stay in the scat, and we can identify them, whether they're crustacean or certain fish species. Otters eat primarily fish and crustaceans. That's what they're adapted to eat. And they find the food using their very tactile, sensitive forefeet and their fingers to scratch around under rocks and to bring out the crabs and crayfish and other small fish.
Nicola sends the samples to a laboratory in Pretoria where they are tested for organic and inorganic pollutants.
I generally collect about half of each scat that's found. As they are used also as territory marking, then I tend to leave some scat behind so that they'll come back.
Armed with the knowledge that there was an active otter halt so nearby, Nicola saw an opportunity to capture the otters on a camera trap, one of the tools used extensively in her research.
Camera traps are used widely for doing surveys to understand certain animals' presence. They're especially useful for animals that are very secretive or nocturnal and therefore can't be observed regularly. We use them for this project to confirm presence and sometimes numbers. So I'm going to set it up here and see if we can get any pictures of otters coming up here tonight.
50/50 placed a small infrared camera not far from Nicola's camera trap. If she managed to get shots on her camera, we would certainly get footage on ours. With the cameras in position, we left the area. Early the next morning, it was straight back to the camera trap. And bingo, it had been activated.
Okay, so these are just me checking the camera, walking away. Oh, but there's some otters walking past. 3 this morning. There's 3 otters. They've moved quite close to the camera, so we can only see half of their bodies. There's one. You can see it's quite overexposed because he was quite close, and you can see the whiskers. There's some smaller otters there.
Now to see if the infrared video camera had done its job.
There is an otter over there. This is at 7 last night.
It had. It had done its job very well.
Okay, I can see what looks like the mother otter coming in quickly. She's busy putting her head up and down, behavior that is sometimes called periscoping. She's checking out the area and sniffing around. She's coming right close up into the camera, and that sound that we can hear is her sniffing the camera. We can hear the pups squeaking in the background. You can see them coming through. She's also scent marking at the moment. She does this when she drops her feces and then she spreads them out with her feet. From the tails that I can see, it looks like there's 2 pups. She definitely did notice the camera as she came straight up to it to have a good sniff. She obviously found it was safe enough, as she's still wandering around.
After several days of pursuing these elusive creatures, a very special scene had been captured.
A swirl of water and a kloop, and the mayfly was visible no more. Neither was the otter. The mole looked down. The voice was still in his ears, but the turf whereon he had sprawled was clearly vacant. Not an otter to be seen as far as the distant horizon.
And such is the secretive life of the Cape clawless otter, But hopefully in time, Nicola's research will reveal much about the ways of these beautiful creatures.